Halo 2. Oh, Halo 2. People talk about it like it's the greatest Halo game. Some people act like it's the greatest shooter ever made. If you mention Halo 2 online, people will talk about how the campaign or the multiplayer or the music changed their lives. But I recently just replayed through Halo 2, and I'm here to tell you, Halo 2 kinda sucks. It's not because it's like unplayable or it has no redeeming qualities, but it's unfinished. It's frustrating. It's horribly balanced. And especially when compared to the original Halo, it's just not as good. I'm going to use the term overrated because I don't think that it's necessarily that bad. It's just not that good. When Halo 2 launched, it had one simple job, and that was to improve upon Halo Combat Evolved. Halo 1 had a clean sandbox where the weapons were useful, the vehicles were great, the encounters were balanced, the enemies were dangerous without feeling cheap. Halo 2 completely throws that balance out of the window. The game feels like it's trying to kill you through nonsense instead of challenge. Difficulty isn't the same as good design. Halo 1 understood that, but Halo 2 never did. The obvious complaint is on legendary difficulty with things like Jackal snipers, but I'm here to tell you that heroic difficulty is also hilariously frustrating. Halo is the only franchise I can actually think of where your main character, the person you play as, gets significantly weaker in the sequel than he was in the original. And we're not talking about a little bit weaker, we're talking way weaker. The weapons he uses, the shotgun that was incredible in Halo 1, fucking sucks in Halo 2. The shields that could save your life and the amount of health that you had to not die after your shields went away. Oh no, your shields are just completely useless and you have barely any health after your shields go down. Halo 2 isn't very satisfying. It's completely ridiculous. The game rewards memorization of levels and spawn triggers than it does actually having fun fighting the enemies. I blame Halo 2 for helping popularize the speedrunning genre because the game isn't that fun to play through on a regular playthrough, but it is fun as shit to try to speed run through where you're trying to skip as much of the game as possible to reach the end. It's really fun to do that. Good games teach you mechanics and interactivity, but Halo 2 just teaches you where the next instantaneous death is hiding. We can also talk about the weapons sandbox. We had almost a perfect weapon sandbox with Halo 1 where every weapon filled a specific niche. Halo 2 completely removed the original assault rifle and gave us dual wielding. Thank God they gave us the battle rifle and the Covenant carbine, or else the rest of the weapons in the game would have felt completely pointless. The battle rifle and the Covenant carbine fulfill every role that is needed to be filled, with maybe the exception of being not anti-vehicle. I'm really happy that we still have rocket launchers, and the human rocket launcher can even lock on to vehicles to make vehicle to infantry combat completely trivial. Most of the Covenant weapons feel weak and pathetic, and the other way that they feel is redundant and useless. Players naturally gravitate towards the battle rifle and the Covenant carbine because everything else just simply feels inefficient. It causes the sandbox to appear larger, but it actually offers fewer meaningful choices. Having a larger amount of weapons doesn't automatically mean better gameplay. We had dual wielding, but it's mostly just a gimmick. Mostly because it looked awesome. And to be fair, it did look pretty cool. When you were holding two SMGs and you were spraying your bullets everywhere, you felt pretty cool. But you were still pretty useless. When you were dual wielding, you lost your access to grenades, and the weapons themselves didn't actually have that high of a damage output. I guess with the exception of the Needler. But you could just use a battle rifle and you could kill people faster than if you were dual wielding anything. Dual wielding feels like a feature that was designed for trailers and screenshots than it was designed for actual gameplay depth. Halo 1 had a coherent campaign that actually moved forward and it felt like it had a point. Halo 2 does have a point, but it's unfinished. It's rushed. It feels like it was designed with a message in mind instead of actual gameplay and participation within the world as the characters that exist within it. The campaign feels less like a completed vision and more like a game desperately trying to reach the finish line. The dialogue in the campaign is pretty interesting, with the comparisons to religion and dogmatism and faith, but good dialogue does not a game make. Everything in the game is building up to things within the Halo 2 story, but it falls flat on its face right when it's supposed to get interesting. The game spends hours building momentum through two storylines. We get to see the elites get betrayed by the brutes, and tons of wacky things happen in the campaign. But one of the interesting things about the game is both of the main characters in both of their storylines die halfway through the story. Master Chief dies when he kills a prophet, and the Covenant decides to wipe him off the ring, and Arbiter gets pushed into a hole. If there's one thing that Halo says that kills the main characters, it's fall damage. Halfway through the story, the people that we're supposed to be playing as die with no input from what we're doing as players. The narrative structure of the game is pretty confusing too, especially as a first-time player, but it does kind of make sense. However, the moments that we switch stories are completely random. We're fighting on Earth, defending Earth as Master Chief, where we kill a large enemy vehicle, a Scarab, and suddenly the plot stops, and it says, no, let's be an elite. But we're on Earth killing fucking aliens. It's not that it's bad, it's just wasted. Speaking of the people within the game, the AI within Halo Combat Evolved was interesting and fun to fight. They flanked and retreated and adapted. But Halo 2, they don't. They're just ridiculously lethal. An elite with a plasma rifle can kill you on Heroic in under 3 seconds, and on Legendary under 1 second. Snipers can shoot you instantly and kill you. The brutes, the new big enemy type that they introduced into the game, are just damage sponges, where their heads are only kind of headshotable, but they don't actually kill them in one hit, even though they don't have shields. It feels like the game is relying on arbitrary stat inflation of health instead of intelligent encounter design. However, the great thing about Halo 2 isn't necessarily its campaign, it's actually its multiplayer. What was seen as a kind of an afterthought in Halo 1 is the main focus of Halo 2. The campaign is simply a framing device for the multiplayer to exist, but it really does not leave a great taste in the mouth of the people that want to enjoy a game not only for its multiplayer offerings. It was day one available to be played on Xbox Live, and it innovated a ton of things about multiplayer space. And most people remember the activities around them rather than the multiplayer itself when it comes to Halo 2. They remember going over to their friends' houses for LAN parties and split screen. They remember Xbox Live. They remember going to school with the people that they play with. But they don't usually talk about the actual gameplay elements. For example, the skill gap between someone who deeply understood the mechanics of Halo 2 and someone that didn't is insurmountable. Someone that knows button combos cannot be beaten by a person that doesn't know them. If Halo 2 is released today, in 2026, many of the defining attributes of its multiplayer sandbox would be changed or deleted in the pursuit of better balancing. Now, Halo 2 wasn't actually a disaster. It has an incredible soundtrack, and it sold really well. It changed a paradigm for multiplayer gaming, especially in the early 2000s, and the game does deserve credit for those accomplishments. But those accomplishments don't erase its flaws. Fun games can still have serious problems, and Halo 2 has more problems than it has benefits. Halo 2 isn't the worst Halo game. That title belongs to another one. But it is the most overrated. People remember what Halo 2 represented. They remember the excitement, and they remember getting together with their friends. They remember Xbox Live coming together and playing a fun game with the other people. But most people don't remember the campaign and how it's completely unfair. It's unfinished, it's horribly balanced, and it's frustrating as hell. If Halo 2 was the original when it launched and it was designed as such, I don't know if Halo would have succeeded as a franchise. Halo 2 is important and influential, but being influential isn't the same as being great. And when I replayed Halo 2, I don't actually see a masterpiece. I see a rushed game that has an incredible soundtrack and it has incredible multiplayer. But its campaign and what the original stood for, it feels like it was betrayed in the design process when they were creating and developing the game. Well, Halo 2 might not actually be a bad game. It's just disappointing when compared to the original. And for sequels that come out, they usually have one goal in mind, and that's to be better than the original. And from every front I can think of, the gameplay, the graphics, the enemy design, the ways of interaction within the world, the story, the world itself, all of it pales in comparison to the first game. If you play through this game recently, I wouldn't recommend playing through it on a difficulty harder than normal, because on Heroic and Legendary, the game is intensely frustrating, and at certain points, it may make you consider not finishing the game because of how frustrating it is. This is also combined with you probably are going to have to play the game more than once to figure out what the fuck is going on during the story itself. So rather than a one-shot game that's fun and interesting the whole way through, that leaves you with a good impression and asks you to play it more, Halo 2 says, no, you got to play this game more just so you can make sense of it. But if you play through it more, it doesn't reward you for getting better at the game. It instead punishes you for wanting to know the game on a deeper level and interact with its mechanics on a more meaningful way, increasing the difficulty. Not just that, but let's think about what you want to do as an elite, too. As an elite, you want to kill humans, but all you do is kill other elites and brutes. The only time that we get to see the Arbiter fight humans is in a cutscene. Almost everything that's truly interesting about Halo 2 happens in a cutscene, not during the gameplay. Halo 2 has this weird obsession with waiting, and how it uses it as a replacement for interesting encounters and things that happen. All of the boss fights are predicated upon waiting. A lot of the game and its encounters are predicated upon waiting. Halo 1 only had a few instances of wave defense being a part of its gameplay, but Halo 2, it feels like that's the only thing that they wanted you to do is wave defense. Taking a lot of time and engaging with a game are not the same thing. And games that have their difficulty based on the passage of time occurring are not difficult, they're just tedious. And that's all Halo 2 is a tedious, boring game that wishes it was its predecessor. Nowadays, I can't actually recommend that you go and play through Halo 2 front to back. All of the things that are interesting and all the things that are relevant to the story can be watched through a cutscene instead of experienced through gameplay. We just have to see if Halo 3 sticks the landing.
For a brick, he flew pretty good.